tuning into Sci-Fi TV, the viewer's guide to genre television for the week of August 15th to August 21st, 2015.
How did this happen? Where did it go? It should have been there last week's episode. I thought I was set up with my season pass. Now the new show is out, and I don't know what happened last week. How did my TiVo forget?
Hi, everyone. I'm Kevin Batchelder.
I'm Wendy Hembrock.
And I'm Brent Barrett.
Alrighty, quick update on the poll we were running. This is the one where we asked you, what do you do when you've been watching a show for a while and realize that you no longer enjoy it? And now that we've closed it down, just to confirm, as things were looking last week on the positions, the stop watching finished out in the lead with the let the episodes pile up and wait to hear from others in second place.
And I'm definitely one of those kind of let them pile up. Just can't let go. But I think Falling Skies is a good example, and you hear about that later. I kind of gave up on that this last week, and I'm just letting them pile up the last couple of episodes, and I'll hear how the finale goes and watch it some other time.
Yeah, I let things pile up too, but in my case, the show is maybe taking a turn for the better, according to Brent with Extant, so I'm glad I let them pile up, because I probably will go back and catch up.
Yeah, and I tend to be more in the stop watching. Since these things usually are so easy on demand, I don't feel quite the need to hoard them on the DVR, for most of them. It was great to get some feedback on that one, folks, and we'll have a new poll, another fun one up for you by the time you're probably hearing this, so please come by the website and vote on that one. Alrighty, let's get ready to move over to our spoiler-free water cooler.
Heidi! Hey,
John, what happened to you? You look awful.
I had an accident, but I'll be okay. Listen,
Where have you been? You're late for recording.
that's what I wanted to tell you. Listen, I was hanging a clock in the bathroom, and I slipped and I hit my head on the toilet.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I blacked out for a bit. When I came to, I had an epiphany. You know that show on ABC, Castle?
What?
You know, Castle. It's that murder mystery show starring Nathan Fillion. Everyone loves it. Come on, keep up.
I'm familiar with it, yes.
Okay, well, I was thinking... You may want to sit down for this.
I am sitting.
Oh, well, then I'll sit. I was thinking we should do a podcast about Castle.
You're kidding, right?
No, I'm serious. We could do a weekly podcast wherein we talk about the latest news involving the series, its cast and crew.
John?
Follow that with a recap and review of the latest episode, with emails, voicemails, and a Twitter poll.
John?
And you know what else? We can even have a music appreciation segment featuring actual score pieces from the show by its composer, Robert Duncan.
Seriously, John?
Then we can wrap up the show with spoilers.
John,
Yes?
we already have a Castle podcast.
Really?
Yes, really. It's called castlecast.net. Don't you remember?
Ooh, good name. We should grab it before someone else does.
Oh, for the love of...
What? You got a better idea?
Maybe you should go to the hospital. I think you might have a concussion.
Don't be silly. I'm fine. What I should really do right now is go make some album art for the podcast in iTunes. Bam, said the lady.
Castlecast.net, the original fan podcast all about the ABC series Castle.
Hey, Heidi, you'll never guess what I saw outside just now. A double rainbow.
Yep, definitely a concussion.
Kicking things off as we always do, got our quick reviews for you. Going to go through the shows that are on this week, and the three of us are going to rate them in the Watch It Now, Watch It Soon, Let It Sit on the DVR, or You Can Skip It categories. Starting with Sunday, the 16th of August, Falling Skies, Season 5, Episode number 8, Stalag 14th Virginia. Not a show I watch.
And you can skip this one.
And I did. I left it on the DVR to watch some other day, maybe.
Yeah, don't bother. Just get to the end. That's what I'm hanging on for.
Alrighty, moving to a show I think we'll have better ratings for. Let's go to Humans. First season, episode number 8, just 1.08, which would be the season finale for its first season. I wanted to enjoy it more, but I did still like it, so I'd say hi, watch it soon.
Oh, I'd love this. I would say strong watch it now.
Yeah, great episode. Great highlight of the week. High end, watch it now.
And I suspect we'll talk in more detail about that later on. Also on Sunday, we have not Falling Skies, I already covered that one. We have The Last Ship, season number 2, episode number 10, Friendly Fire. Greatly enjoyed this one. I'd give it a watch it now.
I agree. Watch it now.
I'd only go high-end, watch it soon.
Final Sunday show is The Strain. Season 2, Episode number 6, Identity. Not on my viewing calendar.
I'm not watching this either.
High-end, watch it soon.
On now to Monday the 17th, Teen Wolf. Season 5, Episode number 9, Lies of Omission. A low watch it soon.
I haven't seen this yet, so I can't rate it.
The season continues to be a confusing mess, and I would say this is barely a low-end watch it soon.
Also on Monday is The Whispers. Season 1, Episode number 11, Homesick. Not one that I watch.
This continues to be pretty good. I would give it a strong watch it soon.
I'm not watching, but something tells me if Wendy continues to rate it as highly as she is, I might catch up someday.
All right, jumping over to Tuesday the 18th, we have Proof. Season 1, Episode number 10, Tsunami Part 2. Not one I watch.
I'm not watching this either yet.
It was a pretty good season finale. I'd say high-end, watch it soon.
Excellent. Also, we have Scream. Season number 1, Episode number 8, Ghosts. Not one that I watch.
I don't watch this either.
This episode's just a let it sit.
All right, moving to Wednesday the 19th, we have Extant. Season 2, Episode number 9, The Other Side. Not one that I watch.
I watched this, but I'm not going to rate it because I'm watching them out of order.
Yeah, and I feel bad after telling you last week that it got really good. This one I'd say is only a high and let it sit because it's one of those kind of, whenever a show does really well, has some great episodes, it somehow thinks it has to throttle it back and just take it easy and have kind of one of those bottle episode sort of things. That's what this was. So high and let it sit.
All right, moving to Thursday, the 20th, we have Beauty and the Beast, Season 3, Episode number 11, Unbreakable. Not one on my viewing calendar.
Yeah, let it sit a while.
Yeah, I'm not watching, but I am piling up these on the DVR.
All right, and moving to Friday the 21st, we have the Sci-Fi Channel's block of shows here. First one we'll rate will be Dark Matter, Season 1, Episode number 11, just 1.11. I enjoyed this one. I'd give it a high watch it soon.
I'm still a week behind on Dark Matter. I haven't seen this yet.
I really enjoyed this one. I give it a low watch it now.
Also Friday is Defiance, Season 3, Episode number 12, The Awakening. Another strong one. High watch it soon for me.
I would go low watch it now.
Yeah, I agree. Low watch it now.
And the final Friday show is Killjoys. First season, Episode number 10, Escape Velocity, which is also its season finale. I really enjoyed it. Probably my highlight of the week. Watch it now.
I haven't seen this one yet either.
It was pretty good. I'd say high-end, watch it soon.
All right, moving to the streaming show we're working through. That'll be Sense8. First season, Episode number 10, What is Human? Haven't got to it yet myself.
I haven't started watching this yet.
Some pretty good stuff in this one, but as usual with Sense8, a lot of also padding stuff and slower stuff. So I'd say watch it soon.
And final show to rate is our watch/rewatch of The Almighty Johnsons as we get near the end of the series. We're at Season 3, Episode number 10, Playing God. A really strong one. High watch it soon.
Oh, I would go low watch it now.
I think I rated this last year and probably gave it somewhere around where these two did.
All right, moving into some feedback and news items. First up, we've got a voicemail from Jesse Jackson talking about the recent Seen Too Much Tuner Minute.
Are we jaded because we watch so much TV? Or is it lazy writing? I'm going to say that if you're going to go to a cliche, 24 Hours Later, or The Villain with a Heart of Gold, you better execute excellently. You better hit 10 out of 10 if you're going to go to that cliche. Or I think a really good writer will fake like they're going to do the cliche and then do another twist. So I think it's a little bit of both. Sometimes we get a little too jaded because we've seen so much TV. But other times I really do think it's lazy writing. It's a shorthand that everyone will gather. And unless done correctly, it backfires.
Hey, thank you, Jesse. That's a good point, too, about the fact that even if we do see some of these cliches, if they're done really exceptionally well, I know I will tend to not worry about it as much. So that's a good point. Maybe it's not just the cliche, but the execution of it that really determines whether we start to get annoyed or it gets under our skin. So excellent point.
Yeah, thanks, Jesse. I do agree about cliches. There has to be a new take on the cliche or do like a George R.R. Martin twist where you completely go against the cliche, which I kind of prefer sometimes. However, I think that TV watchers are actually ahead of TV showrunners and actors these days in terms of being more current on the best stuff. And that's partially why things don't seem quite as exciting and amazing as maybe these showrunners think they're doing. And I say this because all too often I hear actors and showrunners say they don't watch any TV, they don't have time. And that's like saying, you don't have a time to keep up in your profession. Because to me, they should be out seeing what are the shows that a vast number of TV viewers are really considering some of the best TV shows around. And maybe that's part of it too, is they're sort of out of touch with what is actually the best TV until it's been on for a couple of seasons and they finally get convinced that it might be worth checking out.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Wendy. And Jesse, you raised a good point, too. And I think I touched on it when we discussed it on the podcast as well, that it really does matter how it's executed because sometimes, if you're really into the characters that are involved in the cliche or if it's well executed or if it's a kind of a reverse cliche, as Wendy was talking about with Game of Thrones and some other shows as well, it's okay. It's totally bearable. You don't even notice. Sometimes you do notice and you don't care. So, yeah, it really does matter how it's executed for sure.
Got some great feedback on that Tuner Minute, so we appreciate it, folks. Feel free. You can still send some stuff in. We always enjoy taking a look or listen to it. All right, moving into some news items for the week. We're going to let Wendy kick it off with the on-again, off-again pilot that relates to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
We had talked previously about how Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was going to do a spin-off focusing on the Bobby Morse character, a.k.a. Mockingbird, played by Adrian Palicki, and Lance Hunter. And then it sort of disappeared off the radar. It was possibly canceled, but now the pilot is back on, if not an actual series. There's still some debate as to how it's going to be incorporated, if it's going to be an embedded pilot in season 3 or not. The only details besides that it's back on are that the title is called Marvel's Most Wanted. And it's going to be a, quote, different take than they had originally thought, but it is going to focus on this pair and sort of their continuing adventures, which makes me wonder if they're trying to do like a Mr. and Mrs. Smith kind of a take on their characters, because they certainly have that sort of back and forth sparring dynamic between them. But it's good news. I know back when we weren't sure if this was going to get approved, there was a lot of concern that it was a choice between Agent Carter and this show, and I'm glad to see that they've decided they can have more than just one choice.
Yeah, it is cool. I like how they're kind of describing this as it's not really a spinoff, but it's a spinoff, but it's not really a spinoff. I'm getting the impression, based on the description of this, that they're kind of going to downplay the S.H.I.E.L.D. aspects of the characters that they're spinning off, and it's going to be more of a kind of a superpowered bounty hunter sort of team up situation where we're going to get something that isn't, they may occasionally touch on S.H.I.E.L.D. and the fact that they, had S.H.I.E.L.D. relationships and alliances, but it's probably not going to be that. It's going to be more of I'm thinking of like an upgraded version of like 80 shows like Heart to Heart or something like that, sort of thing, where you've got this couple doing the solving of mysteries and hunting of bounties.
Yeah, I must say, I really liked the title idea. That really caught my eye, in terms of how they shake it out. You both described pretty well how the different things have ebbed and flowed on where this has been. But I think it would be cool, certainly, for them to do it this way. And if they need to see it as something distanced, that's fine. I mean, it's still some interesting characters. And being Marvel, they'll have some cool stuff in it. So fingers crossed it goes beyond just the pilot stage, too. Next up, we're going to let Brent talk about actually getting a good trailer for the upcoming season of Continuum.
Yeah, it's a pretty good trailer. It's not the one we had before was mostly scenes from previous seasons with a couple of little scenes from what's coming up. But this one is got no dialogue in it, but it's filled with scenes from the upcoming season, final season, sadly. While a nursery rhyme plays out in the background, and we get some pretty quick clips. Without we don't know exactly what's happening in these scenes, but they are very interesting scenes. They get you curious what those situations mean, how they got into those particular situations, what you're seeing on screen means, and how they got there. So it does a really good job as a trailer to get you interested in wanting to check it out.
Yeah, very excited for the upcoming season, and as you said, seeing some real stuff there, and also a little bit emotionally reminding us that it is the end.
Yeah, it's real, but it's not, right? I mean, I got very curious, and I'm sort of trying to glean clues, but I didn't really get any clues about what's coming from the little bits that were new. But it did what it's supposed to do, which is get me very excited for it to be coming back. So I'm glad that it isn't too long until we do get it back.
In a weird way, it kind of reminded me of the very first trailer we ever got for the series, which was not much more than Kira standing on a beach with the time travel device in her hand and some of the other characters and just alluding to what was coming kind of idea. So I guess a little bit of full circle there. All right, next up, we've also, talking about Continuum, got information for those of you in Canada, and let me stress, for those of you in Canada, some good news relating to that Continuum Season 4 premiere, as well as the premiere of The Lost Girl, episode number 9 of Season 5, the back half of the final season. Both of those shows, as we've told you, are due to premiere on Showcase in Canada over Labor Day weekend. Well, they're pushing up the digital aspect of things, and they're actually streaming those episodes, the premiere of Continuum Season 4 and that episode 5.09 of Lost Girl, along with the premiere for them of Mr. Robot up in Canada. All of them are available on their streaming platforms, Showcase CA and a couple of other their sites now. They've got them up there. They're going to have them available streaming a couple of weeks early, up through like Thursday the 3rd, if you wanted to check them out early. And then they will air, as I said, Labor Day weekend around the 5th to 7th for those couple of shows. No U.S. info here, folks. Again, this is just for those of you in Canada, but kind of cool that they're making a big deal of the fact they're making them available early and getting folks used to some of their streaming options.
Yeah, that's an intriguing way to go with trying to lure people to streaming, especially if you're going to be away over Labor Day. It's a good alternative to get all your shows in.
Yeah, this is interesting, and I'm sure, in fact, I checked just before we came on, that this, of course, means as well that if you're not in Canada and don't have the availability to access this streaming, you can probably still get your hands on these episodes if you know where to look.
Yes, for geeks, always an option. All right, next item, we're going to let Wendy go into a little bit of detail about the upcoming Season 4 of Arrow.
Yeah, after the Television Critics Awards panels that ran a couple weeks ago, there's an interview that was done with one of the show producers, Wendy Miracle, I think is her name. She's been with the show since the beginning. She's also worked for showrunner Greg Berlanti on other shows. And she talked a lot about what it's like to work with him, sort of what their crew writing room is like, which was pretty interesting. There's also what I would call some pretty serious spoilers about things that are coming. So if you don't want to know how things are going to play out with some of the characters that are coming up this season, including one that we have talked about is coming, Constantine, and his role, then do not read this article because it's pretty spoilery. If you don't mind spoilers, enjoy.
I don't mind spoilers, but I also did not feel the urge to read this. I don't know what that means.
And being the big Arrow fan, I wanted to know, but got scared away because I don't want to know too much. So I also avoided this one.
Yeah, don't read it. After I read it, I was like, I was glad what they said. Like, I wasn't unhappy about what I read, but I was like, lady, you're talking too much, kind of was my response. So if you want to be surprised, I would say don't read this.
Excellent. Good to know. So it's there for those of you who really want to know. All right. Now we're going to have Brent talk a little bit about a show I'm very much looking forward to, which is From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah, this article has a link to a video where the showrunner talks quite a bit about a new monster character type, race, species, whatever, that's being introduced into the show, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce her name. I guess it's Calibras, maybe? Anyway, this is kind of a snake vampire, if you think of it that way. It's bloodsuckers and soul suckers, just like vampires, but they're really kind of snake-like. So it's pretty nasty. And if you're into the show, it's definitely worth a watch.
Yeah, I greatly enjoyed it. This is describing a couple of our characters we saw in Season 1 and, a basis for some more stuff coming in Season 2. So it was kind of neat to hear them talk a little bit about some of the details. Some of that we had to just use our conjecture on understanding things, since you saw the creatures, had a thought of vampires, but then saw them do some things that you didn't normally see vampires do. So nice to start filling out the mythos of this series for me.
Well, that's cool that they're filling things out for Season 2. This show just wasn't for me, so I'm glad you guys are excited about what's coming.
Yes, Season 2 starts in just a matter of days. Next item we're going to talk about, I've got a link for you folks to check out having to do with some casting info for the upcoming SciFi show Incorporated. Just some pilot casting at this point for this show. A couple of very recognizable names, certainly for genre folks and just TV fans. We've got Dennis Haysbert coming in. Many of you will remember him, maybe most likely from 24, but many, many other things. And also David Hewlett, late of Stargate and many other things in the genre. So some pretty big names coming in there. Now, this show is one, certainly the three of us haven't been overly excited based on the descriptions we've seen so far, which is just basically that it's set in a future world where companies have unlimited power. And it's going to focus on an executive who is forced to change his identity in order to infiltrate a cutthroat corporate world and save the woman he loves. So I'm going to have to wait to see it. But the other note that is interesting here in this piece, for those of you doing the quick recap, you've got several other actors from other genre shows. So this might be one of those ones where certainly if certain faces draw you in, because already mentioned, just for the quick recap, is the fact that we have Ian Tracy in here. We've seen him in Continuum, strong roles there, and also The 100 and Wayward Pines. You also have Julia Ormond, who we saw in Witches of East End, Georgiana Haig from Fringe, and even a few others. So it's, maybe it'll be the faces that draw you in more than the story.
Well, I love me some President David Palmer. A big fan of Haysbert. And I really like Julia Ormond in her films and in Witches of East End. So those are intriguing. I gotta say the description of the show doesn't really grab me. Maybe by the time we get to a trailer, I can get a little more interested, though.
Yeah, both of these guys, I enjoy both of their work, but, I have to say, from reading this thing, I don't think I'm terribly interested in this particular topic. I mean, we've seen too much of, big bad future, big corporations, little guy struggling. I don't know. I want spaceships and space battles and aliens, please. Thank you very much.
Or at least some stuff flying around big, tall buildings.
Yeah.
Some robots.
Yeah, we'll have to see. But definitely has got some work cut out for it as far as drawing the three of us higher on the excitement meter. We know that. All righty. Well, next item, we know Wendy, certainly of the three of us, is most excited for this, and it has to do with Gotham.
Yeah, the excitement meter for me for Gotham for Season 2 is definitely high. We have a trailer for Season 2. It's coming back in mid to late September, I think the 21st. And Season 2 thematically is called The Rise of the Villains, or The Villains Rising, which is quite a bit of what's in this trailer, which is probably just under a minute. There's some villains that were introduced in Season 1 that are going to kind of expand their power, and then there's some new villains that are coming as well. So if you like Gotham, I think you're going to like the trailer.
I haven't seen this trailer. I think nobody listening will be terribly surprised based on my comments about Gotham in the past. But again, this show is one that I'm waiting to hear when it finally runs its course, if it's something I'm going to be interested in watching.
Yeah, not a show I'm watching, and from our discussions, it doesn't sound like it's one. But I got to say, I took a look at the trailer, and I'm like, okay, I kind of get where the folks who are fans, certainly could be enjoying it. I mean, it does seem, very crisp and all, meaning, I really can see folks getting very engaged with what they're doing. So, I mean, that was cool to see.
Yeah, I mean, you either like some of the characters and start to track them, or you don't. And there's enough characters in the show that I like that, and I like the universe. I think they've done a really good job of creating a very interesting universe as the backdrop for their take on Gotham.
All right, moving to our next show, we're going to let Brent talk a little bit about the upcoming Minority Report.
Yeah, this is a first look video at the new Fox show Minority Report, which we've talked about before. It's based on the movie series. And this one goes into a little more depth. We've had a couple of videos we've linked to before, kind of little trailery videos and a couple kind of touching on some characters. This one goes into a lot more depth about the universe and how it fits in with, the movie verse and so forth. So I enjoyed it. I'm looking more and more forward to this particular show than a number of other ones we've been talking about coming up. But this did nothing but make me more interested in checking this out when it premieres, which is soon.
Yeah, I took a look, it obviously, based on the fact I can't get my words out, I'm kind of just not sure. I don't get a stronger vibe. I don't get a weaker one. I'm like, okay, I'll check it out. I mean, this is another one, for those of you, as Brent mentioned a little earlier, another one of our other news items. If you know where to look, this apparently the pilot was leaked. Whether on purpose or not is another story. I haven't seen it, so I don't know. But, if this is something that catches your interest and you are of that skill set, you might have an ability to catch it soon.
I'm interested in this show. I don't know that this made me even more interested, but I'm still interested. It's not at the top of my list, but it's in the top 5 probably of shows that looks like it has good prospects. I have to say, though, it keeps reminding me of that Carl Urban show, which I forget the name of it. It got canceled. So
Almost Human.
Almost Human. So I keep kind of scratching my head about how this one's going to break out and be different. But I'm hoping it is, because I'm hoping more people will watch it than watched Almost Human, because I like that. So I still have a good feeling about this show.
All righty. Next item I've got for you, folks, as we mentioned in our quick reviews, this week was the finale of Killjoys, and there's an interview with the showrunner, Michelle Lovretta. Obviously not one to read if you haven't seen the finale, or unless you're the spoiler junkie that wants to know more. But she talks a little bit about what happens in the finale and a lot more just about her approach on writing. It's an excellent interview. I mean, for those who aren't aware, she was also the showrunner that helped get Lost Girl off the ground. So they talk quite a bit about the fact in her shows you do have some very strong female characters, some of the challenges those present, and also some approaches that were taken on the show. So if you're someone who's even slightly interested, it's a very lengthy one. I greatly enjoyed it. I got a good chuckle, which I think is fairly accurate. No spoiler here, but the interviewer mentioning that to them and some other folks that person has seen in comments, they're describing Killjoys as, if you give a quick description, as being Dark Angel meets Firefly, which I think is pretty accurate.
Well, I think the Dark Angel part, definitely. I don't know about the Firefly part so much, but we'll see. Maybe I am a couple episodes behind, so maybe there's a bigger crew coming. I tend to think of Firefly as a bigger ensemble. But I only had a chance to lightly skim the beginning of this article, but I'm definitely going to go back and give it more of a read through when I can, because I do like what this show is doing.
Yeah, I don't know if I buy the Firefly comparison either. I mean, I can see where they're trying to get some things in there, but I agree, Wendy, it needs a larger ensemble. I think Dark Matter's more like Firefly to me than Killjoys is. Killjoys stuff definitely, kind of feels like I don't remember Dark Angel. Maybe I did see some of it. I don't remember it off the top of my head, but it's more
Jessica
of
Alba. You forget Jessica Alba?
Yeah, I didn't watch the whole series. I think I saw a few scenes or a few episodes maybe at one point. I think as a bunch of us were watching some of the stuff. But, some small team of bounty hunters, that's, to me, that's not Firefly. That's something else. And it's good. I'm enjoying Killjoys, definitely. And I didn't read all of this. I did skim it. And, child of the 80s. I mean, this person bringing some stuff in from the past and kind of, pulling pieces here and there and sticking them together seems to be working. I mean, I see what the showrunner's doing, and it definitely seems to be working. So I'm on board. I'm going to watch this show, definitely. Not giving up on it. It's doing great for me.
Yeah, I hear both of you in terms of the Firefly comparison and being a larger ensemble cast. I think for me, and I saw this conversation in a couple spots online, as far as the Firefly comparison, is just because of the nature of the great chemistry between the cast and the fact it's ship-based with, some adventures. That part, I think, is maybe a little bit of where the Firefly parallel comes in, but certainly not that idea of a larger group of folks.
Well, I think the universe that they're in is not that much different from Firefly either. You have all these planets in conflict and some, the little guys, they're the little guys, although they're seemingly special because of being bounty hunters, so they're not quite your average little guy. So that part I can see more so than just the chemistry.
And I'm not getting the chemistry as much, so maybe I'm just not seeing it. But the characters on Killjoys don't click chemistry-wise for me as much as they do on, say, Dark Matter.
Alrighty, well, final news item for us this week. We've got the little bit of talk about Maisie Williams, and we've been touching on the fact she's coming in Doctor Who, so Wendy's going to tell us a little more about that.
Yeah, we have a video link in the show notes to Stephen Moffat, the showrunner, and Peter Capaldi, the current Doctor, talking about Maisie Williams and how impressed they were with her. And Moffat, as is usual, was very pleased with himself for casting her, and he said something that reaffirmed my initial theory about who she might be, which I won't say because we're in the water cooler. But when he talks about how she can play someone who seems older and wiser beyond her years.
Yeah, this was a pretty good clip. As Stephen Moffat said, yeah, can't really say much about. And I love seeing Peter Capaldi as well, trying to just say, but I can say one thing, and then he just sits there and kind of thinks for a long time about how to say it without giving away what she is or anything about who she is. But yeah, they're definitely hinting that with all their secrecy that she's somebody from the Doctor's past that we are familiar with or somehow connected to the lore of the Doctor. So in that regard, I'm even more excited to see what she's going to bring to the show.
Yeah, it's very cool. This is getting very excited since we've got Doctor Who back in just a few weeks' time. So I'm just excited. I'm not the huge Doctor Who fan, but it's just some good stuff to get me intrigued for what's coming.
Yeah, it's always fun when you see the cast excited about other people coming to play with them.
All right, and to finish us out, as usual, we've got a Tuner Minute. This time we've got one from Brent, and it's entitled Connection Lost.
We've talked before about the wonders of modern wireless technology for genre TV fans. The ability to stream or otherwise view programming from anywhere in the world is awesome. And while we might expect glitches with that technology in a remote location, what do you do when those glitches happen at home? I don't have a very large home, but I recently moved my wireless access point to my home office, which is in an upstairs corner of the house. Works great. Unless I'm in the opposite corner downstairs where the big screen is located in the family room. The signal can be spotty after traveling through numerous walls on a thick floor. So I invested in a signal repeater, of course. And it worked great. Until it didn't. Now if I can even connect to my Sling box in the same house, I'm lucky. And if it doesn't stop and rebuffer constantly or even just freeze, I consider myself blessed. I have some plans to tackle this issue, mind you, but it got me thinking. What do you do when technology fails you? When you're either in your home or on the road and the access to your shows or information that you've grown to depend upon just doesn't work? Personally, I've developed quite the bruise from repeatedly banging my head into the nearest wall.
Oh, and I'm probably right there with you too, because man, do I rely on this stuff now. And I think I've mentioned it in Tuner Minutes and other discussions we've had. It's amazing how much of it to be able to watch all the shows I do that I use it. And, we had a case in our home a couple of weeks back where our primary cable TV went out for a couple of days. Now, I was lucky in the reverse side because I still had the ability through the platform I'm with Xfinity to watch the shows on my iPad. So I didn't lose it completely, but let me tell you, it certainly had me sweating bullets trying to figure out what I could watch, and that was only when I lost access to part of it. So, I would be just losing it if that's the case. I know when I travel, I get all paranoid and start trying to plan to put content on my devices because I know I'll probably have spotty Wi-Fi or whatever. So, man, if it happened unexpectedly, though, watch out. I might actually have to read a book.
This is so funny because this has happened to me like 4 times in the last month, if not more. I came home after I'd been away for 2 weeks and I had no cable and I had no internet. And when I called the cable company, they're like, oh, it'll be fixed in like 10 minutes. And it wasn't fixed for an hour and a half. And I was really freaking out for just a short period of time. One of the hotels I stayed in, it literally was where I held the computer that the wireless connection worked or didn't work. And O'Hare Airport seems to block your cell phone signal when you're in the TSA line. So I was trying to download podcasts and, get things to update on my phone, and it's just dead. People at work are trying to email me because I have a work phone that is getting no signal and no service. And it all adds up to a lot of stress. I definitely feel for the headbanging you experienced, Brent.
Yeah, I mean, we've all, I think, experienced that stuff when we're in remote locations, especially hotels. I don't understand what it is with hotels. They announce, free wireless, but what they don't tell you is it's spotty. You're lucky if you're going to maintain a connection. You might have great signal strength, but every 30 minutes it drops for 2 minutes. I mean, why don't they advertise that stuff? Because it's the truth. But I really, when you're at home, you don't expect that kind of stuff. And I was really upset that I had spent the money on this wireless repeater which seemed to do the trick for a couple of months. It was doing great. I mean, I was getting strong, full bars everywhere in the house and around the house. I was loving it. And then all of a sudden it started dropping for weird reasons. And I determined through troubleshooting and trial and error that, turning that thing off, the repeater off, and just sticking with the wireless access point seemed to solve the problem. So now I'm trying to troubleshoot the repeater, and perhaps the problem is that it was too far away to get an accurate signal from the from the wireless access point. So I don't know what's going to happen here, but it is very frustrating when you come to depend on this stuff, because it became so convenient, so easy for me to just plop downstairs on this comfy sofa in front of the big screen and just watch what was on my DVR upstairs, which is on a totally different DVR network, so to speak. It's the DVR downstairs and the one upstairs are not connected as the two upstairs are to each other. It was so convenient, and just watching it on my cell phone when I'm somewhere else, it still works when I'm remotely, because no problem with at least the wireless companies do a pretty good job of keeping their data networks running pretty smoothly. But I just became so accustomed to it, and it was so frustrating when it stopped working for me. And I would I would do funny things, like I would try to move the laptop that was feeding the big screen downstairs closer to the to wireless access point, as a direct line of sight. And so I'd have it like in the middle of the family room on a little table, and my wife would come down the next morning and I forgot to put it back and say, "What is that doing there?" Well, I was trying to get it closer, honey.
Aesthetics aside, just make it work. All right. Well, we'd love to hear, folks, some stories from you. I bet you we're not the only ones who had these sweating bullets moments as we realize that this stuff isn't perfect and we rely on it all too often. So please send in some feedback, folks. We'd appreciate it. All right, let's get ready. We're going to move over to the back porch, talk in some detail. We've got a couple of season finales to cover this week, and full details over in our back porch.
Today we talk about Humans, Killjoys, and Defiance.
All right, up first in the back porch, we're going to let Brent talk about the season finale of Humans.
Oh boy, this is a sleeper hit that came out of nowhere that I fell in love with, and I think Wendy also fell in love with it, and Kevin seemed to enjoy it as well. We'll hear from the two of them in a little bit, but this was pretty cool. I mean, it was a season finale, and I believe we've already announced, I believe that it's been renewed, I hope, for a second season. I guess Kevin will correct me if I'm wrong on that one, but we learned at the end of the last episode how they captured all of the synths, and this one starts out with them, in captivity, and it looks like they're going to be basically dissected to determine what makes them tick and going to be destroyed. And however, the good news is that they still had a copy of the code of the special code that they were trying to destroy. Our family does, on a laptop, Maddie's laptop, I believe, and they're using that as leverage to try to get them freed. And the bad guy lets them go because of that leverage, but he does it because he has an ace in the hole. He's got one of the guys, Fred, programmed basically as kind of a beacon and a spy, if you will, and kind of unbeknownst to him. I don't know if he really knows. He seems to kind of struggle with it, like he knows it's there, but he can't say anything about it. So he lets them go and thinks that he's going to be able to find them again after he gets the computer, and he does get the computer, and then goes to get them back. But they discover that Fred is the spy, of course, and they manage to shut him down in time from being recaught. And we get Karen rejoining as well, because she discovers from looking at the memories of Leo that Leo has, since he's seen her, been thinking nonstop about, well, I'd say her, but really his mother, who is her, and she thinks a lot like his mother, and it's complicated. But she's more sympathetic, and they convince her to come, and Leo convinces her to come, and she comes, and she doesn't tell the others where they are, and they all link up, and they do the thing to try to determine the secret, and they get the mystic tree, dream vision thingy. But they come out of it with the information that they need, but they decide they're not going to act on it. And they kind of have to go on their own way, and they leave Fred, unfortunately, since they can't fix him. They leave him, hopefully, to, find his own way and to survive. And Mia, Leo, and Max head off together. And Niska, of course, being Niska, my favorite character, has gone off on her own. But she has a copy of the code in a phone, and she's holding on to it. And Niska does some pretty crazy things from time to time, so she might start activating some synths and giving them sentience and consciousness maybe next season. We'll see where that goes, but that'd be kind of cool. And of course, we get the cop who discovered that the partner that he slept with, it was a synth, and freaks out. But now he wants answers, so he helps the family out in their quest to get the synths freed. And at the end, he sees Karen kind of walking away, and who knows what state of mind Karen's in at that point. She might even go off and just destroy herself or something. But he stops her, he confronts her, he talks to her, and seems to understand more about what's going on, and seems to me like he might actually have feelings for this synth. And he learns from her that she had scarred herself to try to make herself look more human, less synth. And he points out, well, that also makes you look less like Leo's mother. And she's like, well, you seem to know everything. And I love the scene where he's like leaning into her, and you're not sure what is he doing. Is he going in just to look into her eyes? Is he going to kiss her? What's he doing? And then she just goes, boo, and he freaks out, and they have a little laugh about that. And then he invites her to come with him. So, are you coming? And she smiles and decides to go with him. So they might have an interesting little adventure ahead of them as well. So I thought this was a wonderful finale to a really clever, well done series that just kept me glued to every single episode.
Yeah, your description. Oh, first off, yes, it has been renewed for a second season. So we won't be left dangling there. But your description of the three of us and our enjoyment, again, I started out a little middle of the road on the show, really got engaged, and did enjoy the finale, but didn't think it was over the top good. I mean, I was kind of hoping for some twist. This really was just kind of kind of what I expected to happen. Maybe that's because I started to expect a little more of it with some nice twists. I mean, finding a way for them to get away, and naturally they're going to have to separate a bit. So in that sense, it kind of played the way I expected. So I don't know, maybe I was just had my expectations a little high, but I'm still very interested in some of these different personalities that we now have developed so well and am so intrigued by. So I think they've done a good job as far as setting up the fact that come season 2, we've got a lot of different story bits and different ones. And you described each of them there that, might have different plans for what they're going to be doing. Are some of them going to try to bring in other synths, like you mentioned with Niska? Or is it just going to be they just want to just meld in with society and go from there? So it could make for some good stuff for where the series could go. But as far as, the big twists or turns here, we didn't really go to anyone else kind of coming in or dropping out of the groups that I thought the show might do. So don't want to knock it, but just a good way to finish off the first season.
Well, I wasn't expecting them to introduce anybody new, and the whole season has been building to all these folks who were sort of on their individual paths converging, and what would happen when they all ran into each other. In the beginning, it wasn't quite so good, right? We had, Maddie and Leo were in opposition. The husband has definitely been ostracized for what he did to Anita, but now he's sort of changed his mind. We started out with Laura being the most anti-synth, and now she's probably the most pro-synth of the adult characters. And, they've unlocked the secret, which I like, because I don't like when they just sort of drag out those kinds of elements too long. I felt like they didn't drag it out too long, but it's now spun off into the new problems for season 2. There were some beautiful dramatic moments, when Leo is confronted with Karen and freaking out, and when they see Niska's, APB on TV, and they're looking at her with Sophie, and everyone recognizes, okay, this harmonious moment is over, and they're still allies, but now they're all going to go maybe on some separate tracks again. Love that they still have a copy of the code, that Niska has it. She is sort of the chaos maker factor amongst the synths, and that can escalate into a huge problem. 5 synths, I think one of them pointed out, 5 or 6 of these with this level of consciousness is one thing, but when they all have it, that is going to turn into a major threat for humans. So the possibilities are great here. And even the detective story arc, he was very angry in the beginning, and now I had the same idea as you, Brent, that he basically accepted her and was like, let's go home. It's like, wow. She is arguably one of the most emotionally unstable possible suicidal stints in the story, and he seems to be like, all right, let's just deal, we'll figure it out. So I loved that. The one thing I'm sad about is Milliken, because I loved how he had that great conversation with Niska a couple episodes back, right before he got injured, and I would really like it if somehow he turns out to be not dead. That would be my only request, and it's probably a Disney hope for the show, and it won't happen, but he was such a great character, and going into season 2, I totally see him as kind of like an advisor to these guys a little bit. So I'm very much looking forward to where it will go in season 2, and totally enjoyed it. It was definitely a highlight of the summer.
Alrighty. Well, speaking of season finales, we're going to move on and talk about the Killjoys season finale for the first season. I'll kick us off here. I really, as you folks who've been listening along know, this was probably my favorite summer show for me. Really just hit the spot good with the characters, the stories, and what they were kind of doing. And they hit it full speed this week. It's funny, the first few episodes of this series, I was kind of digging this could kind of be the fun action show, a little bit of a story of the week, and maybe keep a bigger arc just kind of filtered throughout. But certainly once they got towards the back third of the season, they really are bringing a lot back and really making this focused on the story. I'm not sure I'm going to have the time, but I would really like to go back and rewatch it, because a lot of things that we have been hearing about throughout the season certainly got brought back here, and there's lots of mysteries and things addressed. Now, as of the moment of this recording, we have not heard about a season 2 yet, so this would be a really crappy way to leave us hanging. So here's hoping that Space and Sci-Fi decide that, ratings have been good enough to bring it back. But, we're picking up story-wise in terms of what's going on. We've got Klein still looking into our gang, if you will, our heroes. Something I saw in one of the reviews referred to them as Team Awesome Force, which is kind of a fun name. But, Klein is still digging, knowing that they had broken in, and he had the encounter with Dutch at the end of the last episode. And the bigger story arc, the whole, the 9 families and all of what they're doing is going to come to a head here. We had a few different pieces, as I said, tie back very early on. Johnny had that hacker friend, I think her name was Carlene, that had helped, set up the device so Dutch could get the vision of where Klein was, and he was still working with her. He had her looking into some DNA or something there, or trying to decrypt some stuff from what he had stolen when they were inside the rack last time. But before we can get that character kind of developed nicely, Klein ends up finding where she is and slits her throat and kills her. So no more help from her, although she did send some files to Johnny to look at a little later. We also had, leading back a few episodes, the fact that the favor that Dutch owed, I think her name is Deal or Dell, one of the family folks from way back from the episode with all the pregnant women, gets called in, and she and Johnny have to go out to play, bodyguard as they're having this big meeting of all the families. So you knew something was going to happen there, and sure enough, the twist with that is that her character actually sets off that genetic bomb that we had seen several episodes back to kill many of the people at that meeting. So there's obviously a war coming here to these families, so they're going to get dragged into it. Very interesting, too, that at that event, as Dutch, until she realized who was the one who set this off, ends up in a fight with what looks like a superhuman type of guy that keeps referring to being a level 6. So we now have more than just Klein, who's potentially level 6 Killjoy, and needs Johnny's help to kill him to be able to get away. So even more is being led to this whole idea of the level 6 is more than just the myth. And when the company decides to bomb out there, I think it was on Westerly, the fact that any of the other smaller characters we've been seeing, from Potter to Pre to Alvis the Monk, some other folks in the background, they now have to all scatter because Alvis the Monk was set up to be the one who ordered that terrorist attack that we kind of know as viewers was a total setup job by the company. So they're having to all separate. It was nice to see them kind of, go off. Potter with the Monk folks, and she's the doctor to help them. Pre comes with our heroes, but that's only the kind of the push of what's going to set everybody in the different directions, because The other bigger piece that really ties in is the fact that Davin saw Klein go into his apartment trying to find the small bit of liquid that Johnny had stolen from that like computerized thing at the rack last episode. And, Davin being Davin, he's not going to wait for any help. He's going to go after Klein. And Klein beats the crap out of him completely, has the total upper hand. But it's what a lot of what Klein said, again, on the bigger story arc, is he's beaten the crap out of him in terms of what's going on. Because Davin's, when he's totally, on the ground and bleeding horribly or whatever, is like, well, just kill me, just do it kind of idea, since Klein's kind of toying with him. And he says, no, last time I did that, Dutch didn't speak to him for, I think he said 6 years. And that now ties into that whole idea going back to when we first heard the story of when Johnny met Dutch. She was in a bloody wedding dress, and Dutch has said that she was a widow or something. So again, this is now telling us a lot more about what happened with them. And Klein saying, no, last time I didn't work well. But then he said, I had an idea. And that leads to the very ending scene where they leave us hanging when we see Davin on a table in this medical thing that we don't know anything about. And we see on the table next to him is that other killjoy, Fancy Lee, that we've seen a couple of times throughout the series, who's got all kinds of tubes and black eyes, and pull back from there. And now we're thinking maybe this is the medical facility where they, quote, create these level 6s that have this ability to use nanites or something to be superhuman like Klein is when we saw him stabbed and all. So, we get a little bit of info on there that says it's on that moon, Archon or something that we had heard referenced earlier. That was some place that they had terraformed went horribly or something, maybe not. So lots of setup on the story and just left dangling right there. So I got to give them a lot of credit for tying a lot of story bits together, a lot of which I barely paid attention to early in the season. So this definitely makes a rewatch, very valuable for this show. So really enjoyed it and really hoping it gets renewed.
I think this will get renewed. I think this whole Friday night lineup is working really well for Sci-Fi. Probably going to take off even more once people get the confidence that everyone liked this show and Dark Matter. I haven't seen this yet. I'm 2 episodes behind, but I'm glad to hear that they have sort of pulled back some of the threads that were introduced earlier and are weaving them together in the finale. That's always exciting when they do that.
Yeah, I'm glad that we got confirmation of the level 6, that it wasn't just a myth, that there are people called level 6. And like you said, there's kind of super people, and it'd be interesting, even though the one who was about to kill Dutch was shot, and then shot multiple times by Dutch, I wonder if he'll actually survive. That would be kind of interesting if he somehow does. So, yeah, what Klein has planned for him it might be to turn him into a level 6, but or what? I don't know, but I got a kind of a kick out of seeing the name of it as like Arkham Asylum, like you said, and it kind of reminds me of Arkham Asylum, which is a Batman thing where all the super powerful super villains are kept, and crazy ones too, like the Joker and so forth. So it kind of gave me a kind of a little smile from that. But yeah, I mean, like I said earlier when we were discussing the news, I'm not as into the show, I think, as you, Kevin, because I guess I'm not getting the chemistry as much as you are between the characters. But it is an interesting development. To learn, I'm fascinated with Dutch, and to learn, that she had been married before, and that he had essentially killed her first husband, maybe because he doesn't approve, which leads me to believe he is definitely the father. I don't know if that was confirmed yet in the show. I may have missed that, but he did make a comment, about I think the one he was taking away made a comment about, I deal better with mothers or whatever, some comment about the mother-father thing. When meeting him, but I think he is definitely, I think, her father, and I don't know why he's not breeding her for level 6 or preparing her for level 6. Maybe he was in the process, but I don't know why if he's converting him to a level 6 that would be something horrible to do to him for her. I don't understand what's going on. Maybe he's turning him into a protector of her that could be with her all the time. Maybe that's what he means by a different approach. Instead of killing the man, he's going to make the man into something that can protect her. An image of him, maybe, as a father might do. So yeah, it is an interesting finale, and to see the corporations or whatever destroying the old town, and that character of that old cop, that old security guy. I kind of like him. He's just gruff enough, and and I don't care enough to be very appealing. Kind of reminds me a lot of Colonel Ty from BSG.
Yeah, we didn't get any confirmation on Klein being her father, other than, like you said, just a lot more breadcrumbs to make it look that way. Alrighty, well, speaking of the Sci-Fi Friday lineups, we're going to finish off our discussion of shows this week with the latest Defiance episode, 3.12, and Wendy's going to lead us there.
Yeah, this was kind of crazy with Kinsey making her moves. I loved that finally Doc Yule got that controller stick taken out, but before she actually got it taken out, she had a great scene with Daytac where he's telling her, you know, he's trying to plead with her, we're friends, and she's like, it doesn't matter, this is what happens when you program a whole race to be slaves. You know, she's like, I can't resist the programming. So I loved when Amanda finally pulled the thing out of her neck. And I loved when Daytac escapes and he uses that new crazy arm, which apparently comes with a very sharp pointy stick feature to kill Kinsey's sons, apparently, which gave me the ew again, because I think her father was their father. But also Kinsey's pretty scary, because earlier in that same episode, Nolan is shooting her, you know, point blank in the head, and she seems unstoppable. Some really good stuff with Stama trying to get help, but also getting into more hot water with Amanda, because Amanda is furious that she knew about these threats of the ship and, you know, this colonization force that's about to come. And she didn't warn anybody before. Then Stama goes to see Alak and the baby, and Stama is number 1 on the hit list. So, of course, Kinsey has already captured her. And it was just chilling when Kinsey takes the baby. And Stama and Alak are, you know, defenseless against her. So, really powerful stuff coming up if there is going to be a mass invasion coming shortly, or if they're going to be able to keep everybody asleep up in that ship and handle the small force that's on the ground. There was also some nice moments with Nolan and Amanda, although I have to say I do ding the show a little bit. Amanda seemed to be sort of going to the it's too hard, fail attitude, which at this point, she's gotten through so many things. It seemed like she went to that unhappy place a little too quickly. And to have Nolan trying to, you know, buck up her spirits. But I always like when they work together, so that was good. There's a lot of good stuff in this episode. Hopefully we'll continue to see all the characters, you know, rallying together to save the town. Or maybe they don't save the town and maybe they take over the ship.
Yeah, I mean, that might get them into space like the showrunner promised. But the Kinsey stuff, man, I mean, I didn't even realize they had secretly introduced vampires and werewolves into the show. But the shots that Nolan did to try to take her down and her just reaction to that was pretty impressive, including, I think, a headshot. The Daytac stuff was very interesting. He didn't actually kill anybody. He just seriously wounded the one by stabbing it through the head. I don't know how that happened, but you know, everybody screamed, you know, like Daytac got one, like he'd actually killed one he hadn't. That was the one that Doc Yule was taking back to be treated. That she eventually shot the heck out of once Amanda pulled the pin out of her neck, and I love her reaction to that. I before she even said a word, I'm like, she's going to say thank God, and she says thank God. and just, you know, gets the gun for Amanda and goes back and just shoots that crap out of that thing and kills it. And then I'm sure what's going to happen now is, of course, that she's going to, well, I guess they did go back already and rescue the doc just as he was about to die. But I thought for sure that she would go back and pretend, or go somewhere to Kinsey maybe and pretend that she was still under the influence, because I think at one point right before they cut away from that, Yule said, you know, give it back. Well, I thought she said, give me the thing back, but maybe she didn't, and I'm confusing it with the gun. But she's probably going to be smart about it and like take the top of that thing and glue it to her neck so it looks like she's still under the influence and pretend, so she could be there in person to take down Kinsey from the inside. That would be pretty cool. Or maybe they're going to be more direct about it, like you said, and just maybe even not be able to save the town and give up. But what's happening with Alec and Stama, and I don't know why, but I was so engrossed in what was going on in that house at the end, especially when Stama comes back and Kinsey comes in and Kinsey takes the baby. And the whole time I was thinking to myself, and I don't know why I'm doing this because I don't really like Daytak, but I was thinking to myself, Daytak, you better get there. Daytak, they need you. Get there, Daytak, get there, Daytak, because he's got the only possible weapon against them, which is his new arm. That could actually do anything to her, and I'm just hoping that he gets her, because Defiance has killed some people I didn't expect to kill, but don't kill the baby. I mean, that would be horrible.
Yeah, how was that for a good cliffhanger? I mean, good in the storytelling, not in the you're going to make me a week to find out way. So kudos to them for that. Yeah, they built that up really good. I really enjoyed that, and as you both mentioned, I really liked all the Dr. Yule stuff. That was neat to see Amanda pull it out and for her to get a chance, because like you said, as soon as Amanda pulled it out, I'm like, she's going to empty that clip into that guy. I mean, she totally is, and she did. So that was kind of fun just to see her get a chance to do that. I also loved watching Alak, understand his mother's motivations. Oh, sure, you show up here. Oh, you realize that means they're now going to see us, so now we have to take you with us. So that whole thing, without her totally admitting that's what she did, and then eventually leading to Kenzie getting there and beating the crap out of everybody and having the baby in total peril. Again, it's good seeing the characters and knowing the motivations of what they try to pull off. So that was just neat to watch. It's been very fun, kind of hand-wringing, like, ooh, what are they going to do next? Who's going to get it next? Where are we going to go with this? So the fact that we're down to crunch time now, just one more episode, I think, in the season. So Brent has been certainly talking about the whole big plan about where they're going and how they're going to do it. And this does, with the status of the OMAC, lead things to potentially, they get them back for the next season to bring the story to involve a lot more space-based items if they can pull it off, because that certainly looks like what's going to happen as the humans try to find a way to not get wiped out. So very, very well done. All righty. Well, I think that's going to wrap us up for our regular show this week. It's been a lot of fun having the full band back together, so to speak, with the three of us. It was great to have Brent and Wendy here talking about some shows and some new stuff as we lead up to the end of summer. So we hope you folks enjoyed it. Keep an ear out for later in the week for some last call stuff again, and we hope you all take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Catch you next time.
We love to get your feedback. Call us at 206-202-4182 or leave us a Skype voicemail to our Tuning Into SciFi TV name. We have many ways to keep the discussion going on our blog. Drop by tuningintoscifitv.com and leave a comment. On the blog, you'll also find links to the forum discussions and other links to follow our Twitter and RSS feeds and find our Facebook account.
Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV was hosted by Kevin Batchelder, Wendy Hembrock, and Brent Barrett. The theme music for Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV is by Beatnik Turtle. Used with permission. Listen to Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV on Stitcher Radio on Demand. Download the free app today at Stitcher.com. You've been listening to Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV, episode 349, recorded August 23rd, 2015.